I don't know if I can hear you. Okay.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you just fine. Thank you.
Alright, cool.
Great. Thank you for coming in. I have about 29 of my seniors are here. They're still coming in and everything. Everybody say hi.
Hi.
Alright. So as I said earlier, I'm still accepting students as they come in. First thing you guys need to do is make sure you go to Summit and set your goal for the day of what you're going to have done and task done today. That's like you have it done this hour, set the goal for the day. I am asking Mr. Google to come in to talk to you guys about insurance. And so he's going to give you kind of basic run of what you kind of need to know about insurance. And then I'll let you guys ask him any questions that you may have about it. And then it could be car, life, house, whatever we need with insurance, especially like renter's insurance, because a lot of you guys will probably be renting homes, that type of thing. So, all right, it's your floor, sir.
Okay, so I could say a lot about insurance because there's a whole lot to say. And my name's Robert McDougall. I've been doing this for over 7 years now. When I say this, I mean anything from what's called property and casualty, which means you insure like cars, like a Geico or something like that. Like they got the lizard, you know what I mean? Or like a home. So it's property and casualty is that kind of thing. And then you got like a life license, which I have. That allows me to insure people who have a heartbeat. So that's pretty cool. And there's reasons for all these different products, and there's a lot of different questions that y'all might have about insurance. I don't know. I could go a lot of different ways, but I just kind of, I can talk, don't get me wrong, if you want to hear me. But I'd like to know what y'all's questions are. That way we can just kind of go straight to the point. I mean, if you want me to talk a little bit about me and my agency in Norman, we mainly represent farmers as a franchise, but I've been doing Medicare insurance in regards to supplemental products for 7 years, along with a couple other things. And that's kind of the cool thing about insurance is you're not tied to one thing in particular. So it's very dynamic, and not a lot of people know about it because they avoid it like the plague. So I don't know if anyone has any questions, but I'd like to just kind of answer if you have questions or some area of certain interest about the industry. Nobody?
I think maybe you can talk about maybe what renter's insurance is, because I mean a lot of these kids are going to maybe would be renting. Would you guys agree with that? Yeah, we could start out with that and kind of go from there.
Okay. So renter's insurance is something that more and more apartment complexes or just places in general want you to have. And the reason being is because what renter's insurance will do for you is if you have renter's insurance, let's say you have a policy like we offer where your contents are one of the most valuable parts of the renter's insurance policy. So your contents are going to be covered at whatever dollar amount. Sorry, just making sure that gets answered. Contents are going to get covered at whatever dollar amount that you are going to insure it for. So let's say you shook your home or apartment or room or whatever it is upside down. All your contents that fall are going to be the number that you're going to want to theoretically create to replace in the event you lost everything. So renter's insurance gives you that because the place you're renting from has no interest in your personal belongings, so they want you to insure them. But mainly the reason they do that is because of liability. So liability means if I do something wrong, I'm liable for it. Long story short, if you have renter's insurance, you have typically at least 50,000 to 100,000 in personal liability, which could help you if you ever had a lawsuit brought against you. So for instance, the main reason for them wanting you or requiring you or someone to have it, not you, because I don't know what your situation is, but is because they are trying to not only protect you but protect them in the event of a lawsuit. So if someone were to come onto your apartment or the house you're renting, trip, fall, bust their face, whatever it is, to whatever extent, they could sue somebody if they really did get hurt, depending on the circumstances. So that personal liability within the policy is there to help you. Does that make sense? Yeah, so if someone sues you, let's say you have 100,000, someone sues you for 200,000 and they win, what are you out? 100,000. So, but anyway, that's it. Personal liability can be brought up higher or lower. It just generally starts at 100,000. Loss of use is something you'll see in a renter's policy. This means if you can't live in your apartment, but it's not totally, well, if you can't live in your apartment or home due to a loss, whether that be like fire, tornado, wind, which a wind is tornado, hail, whatever it may be, you can't live there. Renter's policies typically give you loss of use, which means they will pay for you to live elsewhere while your place is getting put back together. So that's good too, because if something happens, you don't want to be out, you know, if you don't have a second place to go to, I guess. So that could help you. And a lot of times people don't even realize how important insurance is until they use it. And some people go through their whole life not really ever using it. So it's a very variable topic, I guess. But that's kind of renters in a nutshell. Does that kind of make sense?
If you plan on having a lot of parties and your some of your friends are gonna make lots of bad choices, you might want to consider doing renter's insurance. Okay?
Yeah, and just
Alright.
just to give you an idea of how much they cost, they're like, I don't know, depending on your contents, really, you're looking at probably like $15 to $30 at maximum a month, give or take. So it's not expensive, but just kind of factor that into when you go looking for apartments, maybe.
And you have a lot of expensive gaming, electronics, and stuff like that. So like that's value to you. That's something you need to also consider now.
Yep. And with the renter's policy, make sure that you're looking at your deductible. If y'all don't know what a deductible is, it just means the amount that the insurance will pay after you've paid. Or I'm sorry, the amount you pay before the insurance pays. And so keep that in mind when you look at a policy. And also keep in mind, this is kind of in between the lines, but it's there. Theft is a little bit different. Okay, so theft you've got with every policy, it's gonna be different. But like if something happens, like with your PlayStation, or say you had jewelry or something like that, or whatever it may be, something valuable that they could turn to cash. You got to think theft is going to be taken a little bit more cautiously in the claims process, because it's not a fire, it's not like a windstorm, it's not something that was necessarily out of everyone's control, but theft happened and there could be a reason it happened due to negligence. Now that's not them saying you were at fault for anything, but with theft you just got to understand that only it's going to be covered to a certain extent with those things, right? Whereas fire, it would cover it just like it says.
Alright, any other questions, guys? Come on. Questions, let's go.
Who knows what the word premium means? Nobody?
I guess nobody.
Y'all know what the word payment means? That's what premium means in insurance terms. So premium. What about underwriting? Y'all have any idea what underwriting is?
Nope.
No? Okay. Underwriting means, you know how they say, well, you got denied on your insurance. You ever heard that? Right? Well, that's because they went through underwriting, and the insurance company has a particular underwriting schedule. So underwriting means health questions if you're talking about health insurance, for instance. So someone would get better rates, which rates is what you pay, your premium, your payment every month. But basically underwriting is like if someone smokes, they're going to pay more in insurance, health insurance, than if they don't. And overall they're going to pay a little bit more just because if you're a smoker, you're more likely to burn the car down, even on your car insurance policy. Same with the renter's policy. So they don't ask you those things necessarily, but there are factors that come into it. Of course they don't know, but I guess what I'm saying is those are things they look for. And underwriting is just them figuring out how they want to and if they want to insure you. Does that make sense? Sorta? Okay. Okay, so last thing, like I said it earlier, but what does liability mean?
Just covers when you're at fault.
Covers when you're at fault, right. So in your auto policy that you'll legally have to have, you're going to have liability limits. Your liability limits are meant to go towards someone else in the event you're at fault. Right? So, true. And then on the home, or renters, however you want to look at it, you got personal liability, which is going to protect you on that renter's side, like I said. Someone brings something personally against you. So that's liability. You're just liable. It's really black and white when you think about the words and the terminology, but people just don't know what they mean. Last question, then I will stop. What's apparel? Anyone know what apparel is? Ever heard that word?
Clothes.
Do I?
Clothes.
Clubs?
Clothes.
Clothes. Apparel. No, what is a P-E-R-I-L-S? Apparel. Like something, I thought, when I first heard it, I thought something that would hold up like a dock. I was like, I don't know how that pertains to insurance. Apparel. So what it is, because everyone's just dying to know, what it is it's anything that could happen. So when you think about apparel with insurance, it could be wind, hail, fire, theft, identity fraud. Perils are things that could happen that would react an insurance policy. So when you think of that, think of like anything that could happen. A volcano is a peril. An earthquake is a peril. Landslides are perils. Sinkholes are debatable. But that's a whole nother story for you young children. Is it cheaper to be added to my... Hold on, Is it cheaper to be added to my parents' auto insurance or getting my own policy? Well, it doesn't cost anything to shop, number one. Number two, it's likely going to be less expensive. It really just kind of depends on the situation, but 9 out of 10 times that will be the case. But if you come in as in the rare, well, 9 out of 10 times it is going to be the case that it will help you getting on their policy. Now, knowing about the insurance company and how they cover everybody is good to know. So, for instance, some insurance companies will, I'm not saying you don't get on a policy or anything like that, but some people very rarely drive the cars. As long as they have permission to drive the cars, and it's very rare, it's not like a casual thing, or not very rare, but it's just not a casual thing, then most insurance companies look at that as, they were just driving, they had permission. Now, if you stole it, that'd be a different story. But yeah, just back to answer your question, long story short, yeah, it's cheaper to get on, but it all varies. So, doesn't hurt to shop. It's free to shop. Free to shop. Because they said y'all was in good hands, but we've seen a thing or two. I guess nobody gets that except Jackie, maybe. Anyone have? There's 42 of y'all. You only have one question about insurance? That's it? Insurance is so much fun. Y'all have more questions? Insurance slip and slide? No?
So some of these students are moving to dorms or they're moving out of state. They're living on dorms. What kind of insurance should they be looking at or thinking about having?
In the dorms, I would think that they would have something set up for that within their policy, okay? So they may have to go and get their own renter's policy out externally. Having said that, they'd want to look at the same thing. How much contents do I own? What number do I want to put on that? What's my deductible? If something happens, that means how much am I out of pocket? And then on your personal liability, it gives you that liability if someone ever brings a case against you for whatever reason. But having said that, I'm not too familiar, to be honest with you, with the dorms on how they work. But definitely apartment complexes, and if you're going to rent a house or something, then it's a good idea. And it's really a good idea if you rent a house, because you don't want to be liable for something that happened to someone's property via the landlord. And a little bit of money via a renter's policy could go a long way if something ever did happen, which could never happen, but you never know. Anyone just insurance? You had no questions, like what do we legally have to have it? Yes, Otto, we do.
And one student asked, do credit scores affect premium?
Yes, so if y'all haven't, go check out my YouTube. Jackie, I don't know if you sent that out to him, but okay. So, and then I'll send you my Facebook too, but I've got videos on there if y'all are interested, and I know insurance isn't very fun to listen to, but I try to make it as fun as possible, I guess I would say. To answer your question, credit scores have a big effect on your insurance premium. They have not only effect on that, but a lot of other things I'm sure y'all are aware of. So yeah, it depends, like your credit score affects what kind of loans you get from banks. Trickles down to what kind of rates you get from insurance companies, what kind of insurance companies you even have as options to you, So your credit, believe it or not, is very important, and it's going to follow you from this point on. And what better time to make it good and build it now versus tear it down and build it later. So yes, to answer your question.
come on, guys. So you guys requested that you want to know more about insurance. We're gonna do another chat here.
Okay,
Yeah,
how many
you might wanna
different?
read that one.
How many different types of insurance is there? Is there anything that you can't get insured? Question mark. And what are the types of insurance you would say somebody absolutely has to have compared to ones that are optional? Okay, man. I'm sorry. Is it Rachel? 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 Okay.
Yeah.
That I could go on and on with that question, but I'll do my very, very best. How many different types of insurances is there? Okay, you got auto, home. I'm just going black and white. Auto, home, renters, landlord, business insurance, which is also commercial. You've got medical insurance. You've got supplemental medical insurance. You've got life insurance. You've got a lot of insurance. What are the types of insurance or anything you can't get insured? Sometimes if you have like a bad breed of pit bull, you can't get a homeowner's policy or or you'll have trouble, should I say, finding coverage for a homeowner's policy or renters. Now, having said that, I have nothing against pit bulls, but that's just the way that it works sometimes with the companies. So it has to have compared to ones that are optional. I would say in regards to auto insurance, you want to have auto insurance because it is legal. It's going to protect you, one, liability wise, and legally you have to have it. You don't want to get caught in the wheelhouse of not having it and then falling off of it from there. So I would say auto insurance, renters if they require it. Life insurance is very good. You got to think, if you was to leave, what would you leave behind? How would everything react? Any other insurance is just situational. So, say I'm talking to someone about a cancer plan. Well, it's only relevant to them if they have a history, or their family does, of cancer and they're concerned. So that's totally optional to them. What's covered if my car gets in an accident or gets damaged? Well, it just depends on your coverage. So you've got liability. If you were at fault via the accident or the damage, then your liability limits are going to go towards that person that you hit and you were at fault against. And that is not going to cover your car because you were at fault. If you have what's called full coverage, which just means you have a deductible, then you say you total your car out, your car's worth $15,000, but you were at fault. Your deductible, let's say, because you have full coverage, is $1,000. Theoretically, in a perfect world, you'll get a lump sum check for $14,000. So that's the value of it minus your deductible if you lost the whole thing with full coverage. With liability, you don't get that. You just get your limits going towards them. So you help yourself. You cover yourself, not so much you. Your car's gone, in other words. What is cover? Okay, when look for insurance, what should people look out for? Talk to someone local. Y'all have my information, so you can always call me and use me as a reference if you'd like. Why are insurance rates high? Oh, when you look for, one thing to look out for, just really, really cheap stuff. Like, if it's cheap, there's a real reason to it. So find that balance. Why are insurance rates high for teens that don't have accidents? Because you're a teen. Like, plain and simple. Nothing against you or, how straight you do or don't walk or whatever, but yeah, you're just a teenager. Insurance companies just, it is what it is. As blunt as that might be. If you remodel your house or modify your car, does that affect your insurance? Yes. Remodel your house. So if you got an older house and older wiring, older everything, there's a better chance of something going wrong, right? Because it's old. So if you update it and you let the insurance company know, then yeah, you should get a discount for updating, because now your risk isn't so high, it's lower. Still there, it's just not as big because it's not as old, not as likely to break down. And then modify your car. Yeah. On the flip side, and by the way, remodeling your house will increase or decrease your rates because you're not as much of a risk. Modifying your car in a sense of like throwing some kind of cool exhaust or whatever. I don't know what you mean, but if you go the opposite route, you're like blowing flames out your muffler, that's going to make your insurance go way up. But when you say modify your car, I don't really know what you mean. But I know you don't mean that. In your opinion, should I get a credit card in college if I pay for everything in straight cash? Hey, I was told y'all go by Dave Ramsey, so the credit card thing is... I don't know if I'll talk about it for sure, but even big purchases like cars and stuff, pay for everything in straight cash. Like, should I build in just in case, and when should I start? I'll just ask y'all this. I mean, credit, do you think it's important? How you gonna get credit if you're paying cash with everything?
I know, but I'm just like, if I pay for cash for everything, do I really need to worry about credit? To a point.
Well, no, you don't. But would you agree that if you had a plan B, it would be nice?
Okay, yeah.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
So like,
I mean,
so in other words, if kudos to you if you're paying cash for everything, that's wonderful. Keep that up. I'm 100% behind that. But if you can use another company's money diligently, and let me repeat that, diligently, then you can build your credit. You can get points from that. You just have to be diligent. Treat it like a debit card, right? So even if you are doing what you're doing, which is great, you could have credit on the side that, one, if you're paying cash for something, that's great, but your credit's going to be a factor on, well, no, never mind. That's insurance. Not when you buy a car, flat out. So, does that make sense?
Too, like,
huh?
I mean, I'm not gonna get in a car, but like, I was gonna go all out, but then I got into a wreck, and so like, I'm glad I did not buy. I was to my mom was like, oh, get something that's like really cheap, and next thing you know, I got into a car accident, so I'm glad I didn't go like full out on the car that I wanted.
Yeah.
So like, do you recommend me going ahead and getting insurance and all that for like a bike or something? Because I don't think I'm gonna get a car. Now I'm thinking about it, I don't even think I'm gonna get a car for college. So I'm not
when you say bike, you mean like motor,
like if it gets stolen. Like I know that they get stolen a lot. I've heard that so many times.
I'd look at personal property, because so renters, personal property. Now it kind of depends on when and where it was stolen and that whole theft thing. But that typically falls. That's a good question. One, two, but the theft stuff typically falls under like. Which I guess you could go flip a bike, but. You know what I mean? So there's that gray area in insurance. But yeah, no, I don't think it hurts to build your credit. You just have to be diligent about it in the sense of like, you don't, your credit card, use it like a debit and like be strict about it, okay? I mean, that's my take on it. That's my personal take. I highly agree with Dave Ramsey. He's right in a lot of things. I don't understand why someone would use a debit card versus a credit card, other than they're just gonna blow it way out of proportion. Yeah. I mean, and that's just, if they're gonna do that, they're gonna do that. Kind of like don't take someone by a cliff because they might jump. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But no, I agree with a lot of what he says. Y'all know what a secured credit card is? Okay.
No idea.
Well, hey, secured credit card, look it up. Y'all got Google or Siri or Echo or whatever you want to call it at y'all's disposal. So secured credit card.